was a quiet day in old Wobbly Island. I sat in my room playing video games as you do. Playing video games in my room gave me lots of time to ponder. I thought about all the cool things I could do over summer vacation. I could get a girlfriend. I could buy a bicycle. I could learn to ride that bicycle because I don't know how to ride a bicycle because I don't have a dad. When suddenly, a knock on the door. Was this my child? Was a girl finally coming over to my house? Grandma slammed open my door and I told her not to do that again. You could damage my front door. Then she pointed at this calendar that said no job. I told her if she hasn't had a job in 30 days to go out and get one. And then she picked me up by my butt, aimed me at the front door, and then she just karate punched me in the face. As I flew through the air, I had a lot of time to think. At first, I was confused. I was sad. I didn't know what was going on. I wondered if I was going fast enough that if I hit the ground at this speed, would my face explode? It didn't. I sprung to life with great determination. I was angry at this point. I really wanted to prove to Grandma that she was wrong and that I deserved to play video games and get a girlfriend and ride a bicycle. There was a stranger across the street, dressed in some sort of disguise with a mustache and a hat. Against all better judgment, I went to say hello. He had a job for me. I accepted it. This guy really wanted his jelly delivered to him. It's right around the block. I don't know why he doesn't do it himself. He's the one with the car, not me. However, naked, determined, and fueled with anger towards Grandma, I just went to the jelly store to pick up some jelly, dude. I went into the jelly store and found it sitting on the ground, not even in a paper bag. I don't think the health inspectors would approve of this, but what do I know? So I picked it up with my dirty hands and rushed it back to the jelly guy before it could melt. At this time of my life, I thought jelly would melt like ice cream. I didn't know. So I went back to the jelly guy. I handed him his dirty jelly, and he gave me a measly $10. Okay, I thought $10 is better than $0, so I held it above my head, pointed it at Grandma's house, and told her, hey, look at my money, idiot. She didn't seem to like my sarcastic nature, so I went on about my day to find yet a better job. As I walked through the most dangerous area in my neighborhood with my $10 butt naked in the streets, I just put my money in the bank so no one would rob me, and then I saw it. It was a clothes store. Finally, a chance to get some pants on my butt. However, the clothes were a little bit too expensive, and all I had was $10 to my name. I needed to get another job, and I needed to get one kind of quick. So I did the only sensible thing I could think of. I became a paper boy. It was rough at the start. I wasn't very good at my job. In fact, most people didn't even get their papers, but I was determined, and I knew that if I just kept throwing papers at people's houses, eventually one would end up through someone's window, and they would be proud of me. But sure enough, as time went on, I got better and better, and people started getting their papers, and people were happy with me. It took me about 20 tries, but I shot the final newspaper right through someone's window, hitting them right in the head, closest to their eyes so they could read the paper. With my first paper route completed, I went back to the lady and she handed me $50, a pair of pants and a shirt, and said, good job, now get out. Full of pride and feeling pretty good about what I've just done, I ran home to Grandma to tell her the good news. I made $60 today and got free pants and shirt. I busted through the door. I said, Grandma, guess what I did? And then she told me to go back outside, get another job. So I punched her in the stomach as hard as I could, and I ran up the stairs in tears. I put on my brand new paperboy outfit. I thought it came with pants, but I was lied to. It only came with a shirt and a helmet. I fled Grandma's house, and I went looking for another job. As I walked through the streets, it finally struck me. If I wanted to get revenge on Grandma, the best way to do this would be buy my own house. But houses aren't cheap. In fact, this was $1,000. I had a lot of time to think. And thinking I did. If a paper boy, a very simple job, would pay me $50, then what would a job that deals with dangerous chemicals and monsters pay me? Surely a lot of money. So I did the only sensible thing I could think of. I went to the nuclear power plant without wearing pants. I walked on in. There was a bald man sitting over there, not a hair on his head, and I asked him for a job, and he said, hey, dude, just go do this stuff. So I was like, okay, what? Why? Really? Without an education, I could just do this? And he was like, yeah, do it, whatever, I don't care. So I started dealing with dangerous chemicals, okay? I wasn't wearing protective gloves. Heck, I wasn't even wearing pants or underwear for that matter. I got a little bit on my body, but I didn't care. At this point, I just needed to complete this job. I had to load 5 of these into the truck and bring them down to the waste disposal site. With the truck fully loaded, I took off to dispose of the dangerous chemicals. However, I noticed there was a time limit and it was quickly ticking down, and I was growing very impatient about driving on the road, so I did the only sensible thing I could think of. I decided to drive my truck backwards, off a cliff. It was a little dicey, but don't worry, I nailed it. It was fine. Once at the bottom of the pit, I jumped out of my truck, jumped into the back of the truck, grabbed one chemical barrel in each one of my hands and put them on the conveyor belt. I was feeding this monster dangerous chemicals, but I didn't care. I just wanted to get money at this point in my life. With the last chemical in my hand, I noticed a please do not feed sign sitting on the side. I didn't care at this point. Just pay me, dude. And only $50. Not really what I was expecting, but I guess it's better than nothing. I had a long time to think as I drove back to Grandma's house. Was I happy? Was I sad? It was more like a combination of the two. The jobs weren't paying very well, and I didn't have enough money to prove to Grandma that I was a sufficient adult. I ran inside Grandma's house. I gave her a hug, but it was more like a strangle, and then I let go, and she said thank you, and I went upstairs, and I took that as a sign that, yes, I'm allowed to spend the night here one more day. So I went to sleepy times. I dreamt of future jobs. I dreamt of flying on a magic carpet. And then I woke up. Day 2, a present in my room. $35, Grandma, you shouldn't have. I needed more money, and I needed it faster than anything's ever been faster before in this life. So I went over to the docks to try my chance at fishing. But upon my arrival, there was a man here wearing cool sunglasses, surely expensive ones, and he offered me a jet ski race. I said, okay. The race was beginning and I was tingling with anticipation. All I had to do was go through these rings. There was no other competitors around me. It was the easiest race of my life. And this guy was going to pay me probably lots of money. I looked around and yeah, this was super easy. So I just went through the hoops. With the finish line in sight, I was filled with great anticipation. How much money was I going to make? Just a couple of dollars, I guess. Not really that good. I spit in the guy's face and then I went to get a fishing job. I walked in, I talked to the fisherman, and he actually offered me a job where I can even borrow his boat. All I had to do was go catch 5 fish in a very specific location. That sounds pretty easy, I'm not gonna lie to you. So I accepted a job offer, I jumped in the fishing boat, and I decided to cruise to his super secret spot. I had no obligations to fulfill this man's job, but he was gonna pay me, so I was gonna do my best. I looked down in the water and I didn't see a single fish here. I assumed this man was crazy, but yet he's the fisherman, not me. So I decided to cast my rod and just see what happens. I sat here for a good 5 minutes. I was about to give up when suddenly there was a fish on the line. And this fish felt strong. He put up a fight, tooth and nail. He pulled to the right, he pulled to the left, but don't worry, in the end, I managed to pull it in. It was a cod, no less, but wait a minute, this cod is huge. This fish is bigger than me. This could feed an entire family for dinner. This must be worth like at least $100. If I catch 4 more things this size, I think I'll have enough money or close to it. With the most excitement I've ever had in my entire wobbly life, I casted my rod again, and right away, I caught something. It was a dirty boot. It was basically trash. I caught trash. The 4 fish that I needed to catch quickly turned into 3, then 2, then 1, and I was back on my way to the dock. Suddenly, there was a wicked thunderstorm and lightning strikes my boat. But don't worry, this boat has like a little house on it, so it's totally fine. I brought the lady her 5 fish, and I even threw in a free dirty boot, and she paid me $51. At this point, I started getting a little frustrated. I even thought about throwing the money into the ocean, but then, what would that accomplish, you know? So I put it in my ATM machine. I had $236. I was 1/4 the way there to buying a house. Things were not looking good. It was taking too long. I decided to steal some fish, but these people were looking at me. So I tried anyways. They were glued to the ground. I looked like an idiot, so I just ran away crying. Homeless, pantsless, and basically broke. I walked through the streets until I found a trash can. I tried to dig through it to find snacks, but it was completely empty, and then I was struck by lightning. But being struck by lightning might have been the best thing that ever happened to me. You see, being struck by lightning revitalized some of my old memories. I quickly remembered something my mama told me when I was 1 year old. She told me to become a doctor so I could become a millionaire so that she could retire and take all my money. So I went to the hospital. I didn't have an education or even pants at this point, but I didn't care. I walked up to the nurse and said, can I have a job? And she said, yes, please. There's people dying out there and we need someone. So they gave me the keys to an ambulance and they told me to go pick up a guy who was dying. It was at the factory, a previous job. Was it an old coworker? Could it be Jimmy? Little Tim? Marilena? Josephina? Who was it? I don't know. I opened the back of the ambulance for preparation. I opened the doors and it raised and no. Little Gregory. Okay, from the side of it, I can see that he has about 17 comas happening, 4 contuberances. I had to get this man to the hospital. I had to get him down quick. I didn't care how we did it. We just did it. I just stuffed him in the back of the ambulance. I didn't really care. He was on the gurney, so he should be fine. I slammed the back of the door, and then I just drove like a madman all the way back to the ambulance hospital place. Time was ticking. There was only a little bit over 2 minutes to make it there before little Gregory would pass away from his 17 comas. But not to worry. We're basically here. We're right there. So I just rammed him inside and said, ma'am, go ahead and fix this. And how much am I going to get paid? It was $50. I now had $286 to my name. I was feeling defeated. Okay, the money was coming in, but it was coming in slow. At this point, I was going to be homeless for like the next 6 days. I couldn't accept that fact. And then I remembered something a famous YouTuber did back in the day that I didn't agree with at the time, but now I kind of see his point. This man went out there and bought a Lamborghini. And I thought, wow, do you really need that? Sounds like a waste of money in my eyes, but then I thought about it. Buying a car is not a bad idea. So I went to the car dealership and I asked the man if he had anything in stock. He showed me a scooter. I said, no, sir. But then he showed me this nice little yellow car and it hit me. This is perfect. You see, the car was better than a house. The house has a front door. The car has a driver's side door. The house has a back door. The car has a passenger door. We have windows, walls, a roof, an air conditioner for when it's hot outside, a heater for when it's cold outside, and not only that, it can drive. We can take this mobile house place to place and live anywhere we want. Filled with the most excitement I've ever had in my little wobbly body, I drove my vehicle back to Grandma's house. I rammed it into the wall, and I honked my horn at her house for 7 hours straight. She looked terrified, to be honest, so she ran to the front door and locked it, and then she went over to the window, and we made some intense eye contact. So I shined my headlights into her eyes to temporarily blind her, and then I drove away, feeling victorious. I took my car to the river, and I parked it next to the edge there so I would have a nice river/city view. Feeling pretty good about what I've accomplished today, I realized that anything is possible. In fact, if you just put your mind to it, you too could get 10 jobs in a single day and buy yourselves a car, maybe.